between India and Pakistan, there used to be a lot of exchange of fire between the border outposts. So at a period of time,
I heard that you are an expert in counterinsurgency, sir. And I think you spent a lot of years in Kashmir in counterinsurgency. So, how was your experience? It would have taken a lot of lives from our side as well as that side.
and a high amount of risk when you're deployed in counterinsurgency or in field postings where we are in the line of control. There is every chance that you may lose your life. Like in my own family, there are generations, there are many families in India who are into their fifth generation, sixth generations, and seventh generation also who are in the army, for whom army or navy or the air force is a religion. In my very young service in 1993, I had two experiences of natural disaster and law and order. In 1993, the Bombay riots took place.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the podcast series. Today, you, me, we are all watching peacefully this video, or we are carrying our lives, day to day lives, quite peacefully because some of our countrymen are guarding us in the borders. They sacrifice a lot. We never come to know what is their life, how much risk they take, what is their salary, how is their entertainment. Nothing we know. We just see, just we hear defense forces, army, Jawan, that's all. And yes, whenever there is a disaster, say some big flood, earthquake, anyone trapped inside, yes, then they come inside, clear the problems, and again go back to their guarding our territory. So today I thought, why can't we interview one officer so that we know how the life is there in the defense forces, especially army. So today we have with us Brigadier V.V Subramaniam, who has spent 37 years in army, starting as a lieutenant till retired as a brigadier. So let us understand. Sir, thank you so much for joining today. And in fact, it's a something which I worked in civil service for a brief time. Even that side also, we don't understand. We don't know anything about army, how exactly your life is. So it's a pleasure that you have come here today. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you so much, sir. It is always a pleasure to come to IAS, Officers IAS Academy. And if you recollect, you gave me an opportunity to interview some and conduct mock interviews. It is always good to come to a professional institute working in the field of making bureaucrats who run the country.
So you spent 37 years in army, sir. From childhood, was joining Indian army your ambition?
Uh, Circumstances make a gentleman or any citizen of the country. My father or my family, we belong to Pudukkottai, which is near Trichy. And in 1942, my father left Pudukkottai to join defense accounts. My father, as my mother says, had a dream that one of his sons should join the mainstream army. And I fulfilled the dream in 1984 when, after graduation, I gave the Combined Defense Services exam. Then I went for the Services Selection Board for an interview, got selected, and then also in the merit list, I made it pretty high. And in 84 October, I joined the Officers Training Academy, Chennai. Though I had lost my father when I was very young, when I got commissioned in on 24th August 1985, that was the time my mother was very happy. She told me that you fulfilled one of your father's dream, that he wanted one of his sons to be an army officer, and he himself was in defense accounts. Today, proudly, I can say that we are third generation from Pudukkottai because my own son has joined Indian Army. He is a captain with about 2 years service, presently deployed in Arunachal Pradesh and doing some construction work along the Chinese border. So, in net effect, I can say that we are third generation from Pudukkottai, which is a small village, now a district, serving the nation. We are grateful to the nation, we are grateful to God, and we are also grateful to the well wishers and friends who make our lives good. And we are also happy that we are serving the country. Why I did join the army was in Lucknow when I was studying. My sister was teaching in the UP Scenic School, which is one of the cradle of, it sends a lot of officers to National Defense Academy. Possibly I got influenced there with all the children in Scenic School. And it was a natural that I went for the first entrance exam I gave after graduation, and it was a seamless entry into the army. I enjoyed my 37 years in Indian Army, and I'm grateful to God and everyone.
So, where was your first posting, sir?
As I just told you, I was commissioned in August 1985, and I was posted to a place called as Akhnur, which is 32 kilometers from Jammu on the western side on the border. I never knew this place, as a common citizen who had lived in cities in Lucknow, Jhansi, or Chennai, or Trichy, or Tanjore, where we used to come for vacations. One had never seen something called as field or line of actual control or international border. In those days, there used to be only two trains which used to go to Jammu. One was Jhelum Express and one was, Jammu Mail from Delhi. And we landed up in Jammu railway station. I was received by an officer from my unit, and we commenced our journey towards western side and came to a small little village called Akhnur. And that was my first posting. It was very, very different coming to the border town of Jammu. And from there, another 20 kilometers was Pakistan onto our western side. And it was very, very exciting to join the unit. And one of my first requests was, let me go and see the border. Of course, it took some time for me to, be taken there because there were a number of other introductory issues which or the type of training which we undergo after we reached the unit. So Akhnur was my first place of posting.
So, any interesting incident which happened during your tenure there?
Yes, in those days in 1985, between India and Pakistan, there used to be a lot of exchange of fire between the border outposts. So at a period of time, I think the Pakistanis brought a medium machine gun and they started firing on to the Indian posts. And that was a new weapon, and we came under a lot of, we had to go on a bit of a defensive. At that point of time, my unit was called to fabricate something and mount a heavy machine gun and take it to the border post. When this responsibility came, there was a post called as 1886 Forward, where my unit was deployed. 23 mechanized infantry was my unit. We manufactured a small little cradle on which we put and placed the heavy machine gun. We went to that 1886 forward post in the late evening and worked through the night. And from next day onwards, we surprised the Pakistanis by a heavy machine gun fire as opposed to their medium machine gun fire. And that tempered down the temperature which was existing between the border posts. And it was some kind of a small victory, moral victory or a kind of a domination which we had over them. That was my first live experience of seeing a border and also a change, some kind of a small moral ascendancy over our neighboring country.
I heard that you are an expert in counterinsurgency, sir. And I think you spent a lot of years in Kashmir in counterinsurgency. So, how was your experience?
any and everybody who joins the Indian Army or who joined the Indian Army in the 80s, I would say mandatorily did a tenure which involved working in the counterinsurgency environments. I was one of them who got this opportunity in 1994 when a new outfit called Rashtriya Rifles was raised by the central government. The Rashtriya Rifles, or it is commonly known as RR, is basically a counterinsurgency force. We were raised in Jabalpur and then we were deployed on exactly 10th of March 1995 in a small town called Baramulla. Prior to reaching Baramulla in 10th of March 1995, in December of 1994, we went, as is customary, for a familiarization visit to the place where we were supposed to conduct the operations. It was frightening because first time in my life when I spent a night in Baramulla, I could see the sky being lit up by tracers which were fired by militants. And as it happens to any normal man, you think every tracer in the sky is going to come and hit you. It doesn't happen like that because you're so far away from the bullets, and the bullet loses its velocity by the time it travels 300 meters, that it finally extinguishes like a Diwali firecracker much before you. That was my first experience of fire in December 1994. When we finally got deployed in 1995, it was a very, very challenging and I would say to some extent even a stressful tenure which I had for 2.5 years there in Baramulla. And I saw live action. We were part of operations. We also were doing aid to civil authority. We were constructing, we were winning hearts and minds of the Kashmiris those time in different programs. We were working in concert with the state administration. We were working with the police. We were working with the police special operations group. In fact, the last DGP of J&K, Mr. Ved, was the SP of Baramulla when I was there in 1994. So again, the state police, the state administration, the central administration, the army, the BSF, we were all working hand in hand to restore the situation in Baramulla. It was a very challenging 2.5 years I had in thick of militancy where we saw everyday firing, everyday contests between the Indian army and the militants. And it was our training, our good leadership, our good support from the central government and state government, which saw us overcoming militancy in step by step manner, and we reclaimed the entire Baramulla town, Handwara town, and right up to the border and restored law and order.
So you're telling in few sentences, you're restoring from Baramulla till the border. No, it would have taken a lot of lives from our side as well as that side.
In counterinsurgency, lives are lost. That is the reality. Lives are not only lost of the militants who are in two categories. One category are our own citizens, are our own countrymen who are misled and they go across the border to Pakistan, get trained, and they are indoctrinated and sent back to fight for a so-called, independent Kashmir or some of the dreams which are sold across the border to them. It is very unfortunate that they resort to taking arms. They get misled so easily and they get indoctrinated. And we are forced to act against our own countrymen. It is very unfortunate. But be that may, we have to go by the constitution and what are the orders given by the central government. And it is the larger good which is to be understood and comprehended by the countrymen in the face of some people losing their lives. The second category of insurgents are those who don't belong to India. They are sometimes from Afghanistan, they are sometimes from other countries who again get indoctrinated in the name of religion and come for a so called assisting our own militants in achievement of their stated aims. So, insurgents are in two categories: Indian countrymen and those who don't belong to India. Whenever there is a firefight or whenever there is an operation, invariably the villagers, the common man, they also get in some way affected, and sometimes they also get injured, or in extreme cases, they also lose their lives. Same is the case with Indian Army, Border Security Force, Central Reserve Police Forces, State Police, who also, in some circumstances, lose their lives. In all, insurgency is a lose lose battle as far as common man is concerned, as far as state is concerned, as far as a citizen who is misled by a neighboring country is concerned, or for Indian Army is concerned. But yes, this is the fact of life. There is no utopia in any country. India is also part of a committee of nations. We have our own share of security issues. We have our own shares of divergent views. And sometimes when people pick up arms and fight, well, the government has to resolutely reply them and restore law and order. That is the constitution, that is the orders which the central government gives or the state government gives, and they have to be obeyed with, of course, a caveat that the least amount of force and no collateral damage is done, or nobody who's innocent loses their life.
How will be your feel, sir? Because having so many years in service, definitely in your own eyes, you would have seen your own unit staff, someone throughout you would have talked, had a very good friendly relation. Suddenly they are no more. So how will be the feel, sir?
Our training, whether it be in the Officers Training Academy when we are initiated into the service, or during the length of service, one thing an army officer, his wife, his friends, his colleagues, his co workers, or our neighbors, as we stay in a community, all of us know that it is a challenging job. It is a job which has got risk in it, and a high amount of risk when you are deployed in counterinsurgency or in field postings where we are in the line of control. There is every chance that you may lose your life. But then every citizen who joins Indian Army, and it can be you also, or it can be the others who are assisting us in this podcast, every citizen of the country, when he is put through a calibrated training in an institution in a graduated manner, the army or the armed forces believe in inculcating something called as collective courage. As a part of collective courage, your individual courage is built. You overcome fear in the army as part of collective courage. And then, when you are an officer or you are leading your men, you become further, you get motivated that you have to lead your men, you have to lead your country, you are representing your state, you are representing your caste, you are representing your country, you are representing, and you have to show exemplary leadership qualities in putting your life at first rather than risking your subordinate's life. We have seen I have seen number of people losing their life, my own subordinates, my own officers who have worked with me who are no more. First thing is, I have enormous respect for them. To lay down one's life and put it at risk is a very courageous act. It is not easy to put your own life in the line of fire. But that is what is training and that is what is expected out of you. Once the news comes that so and so is no more or so and so has lost his life, it is a disappointment. After all, we are also normal human beings like you. We also spend a couple of days little bit gloomy, little bit disappointed with the turn of events. But then we are taught that those who lay down their lives for the country, for the Indian Army, or for his unit, or for his contingent of subordinates, well, even the Gita says that they go to heaven. And in the line of duty, in any profession, any person who lays down his life, well, I believe that it is the same thing in a different environment. In the case of Indian Army, Navy, Air Force, or Coast Guard, it is a higher order duty. And yes, when you lose young people, young lives, you do feel a little bit sad. But we pray for them that, they enjoy or they go to heaven. And one thing which Army teaches you is to maintain constant relationship with their wives, with their children, and look after them and see that they are not affected by the trauma of having lost their breadwinner. A number of my colleagues who have laid down their life in the line of fire, I am in still touch with their wives. I look after them. I remain in communication with them. In a number of cases, when there are good happenings in their lifestyle or in their events in the calendar, like their daughters getting married, we do go and attend them. We do partake in the good memories which they have later. And we never ever lose communication with officers or men who have laid down their life with their wives or their families.
As army, whether there are some support system that they'll be given jobs, their children's education will be taken care.
You see, army threadbare or the religion in the army, what we follow is regimentation. And regimentation means that the lady, or in some cases when the officer or the personal below officer rank who are not married, their parents, their brothers, the first thing is that they do not have to look back on any other organization or anybody else other than Indian Army. So we are duty bound to look after them right from the day one, that is from the conduct of funeral to documentation and their receipt of pension, which is the first and the foremost thing which is done whenever such incidents occur. The second is reintegration of the family and counseling of the family to get over the traumatic experience of losing one's near and dear ones. As far as the lady is concerned or the mother is concerned, or in cases when they are not married, the brother of a particular person who was employed with us, all of them are given opportunity to join the army. There are number of instances where officers' wife have joined Officers Training Academy Chennai and they have themselves got commissioned. And they have started another innings with us in memory of their husband, in memory of their brothers, in memory of their loved ones who laid down their life. We have many cases where brothers of officers, brothers of our dear Jawans, they have joined the army. Like in my own family, there are generations, there are many families in India who are into their fifth generation, sixth generations, and seventh generation also who are in the army, for whom army or navy or the air force is a religion. As far as education is concerned, number as far as within the army is concerned, and as far as state government and central government are concerned, if your father or the person who's departed is an award winner, they have reserved seats in medical colleges, in engineering colleges, in MBA institutions. Within the army, till the time the last child of the person finishes his class 12, they are allowed accommodation. They can stay in government accommodation. They can stay inside the cantonment. We take lot of efforts in rehabilitating the lady or the mother or the brother. They are given jobs commensurate to their educational qualification. There are compassionate jobs which are given. Let me assure you, not a single gallantry or anybody who's lost his life in operations. There is not a single family who's not in communication with the Indian Army or some unit which is not assigned to look after them. 24 into 7, they can contact us. There's a last 2 years, there's a call center in Delhi which is exclusively for gallantry, posthumous persons whose next of kin can contact the call center, and every effort is made that we make their balance of life easy. We cannot in any way compensate them for the loss, physical loss, but we ensure that their balance of life, we take care of them. In any function, whether it be Republic Day or Independence Day or Raising Day, they occupy the front benches. They are given the due honor, they are given the due respect. Irrespective of rank, a gallantry award or a officer or a OR who's lost his life in operation is the first and the foremost, even as compared to a serving officer.
Sir, in movies, we generally see about these operations that people running, the hero running along with his team, then that side they are running inside the forest. So these are all this counter-insurgency. Many movies are depicting it. In reality, how it happens, who starts, once you hear how you reach that spot.
See, the movies are not too far off from what reality occurs. I would not say that they are totally, there something else is shown in the movies and something else happens on ground. A movie is a replica or a writer's or a director's comprehension of a particular situation, but of course it has got a commercial angle to it, that it has to sell to a particular crowd. Real life situations are, firstly, they are spontaneous. They are actually real life in the sense that you do not anticipate or you do not appreciate a particular incident or an encounter. It'll pan out or span out in a particular fashion. Each encounter, each incident is different in nature, is different in the time of the day. It comes spontaneously. It is your good training, physical fitness, mental robustness, and your being alive to a situation which dictates who will emerge victorious in a particular encounter. The fact remains that initiative is always with the person who's come with an intent to kill. We do not fire, or army does not fire in anticipation or in thin air or in open air. So the initiative always lies with the terrorists. So people as well as the citizens should understand that the contact is first made by the terrorist. He opens the fire or he initiates a particular incident. It may be a bomb blast, it may be an incident in which he vanishes, it may be an encounter which occurs spontaneously, or it may be also encounters where we have a particular information that he is hiding at so and so place and we go and seek him there or we surround him. In all cases, generally the fire comes from the terrorist first. Once a fire comes, the fact of a fire is, or the reality of a fire is, that you do not know from which direction it will come, from which window it will come, or which door it will come, or it will come from top or onto the sides. You do not know. You only appreciate that you have a particular amount of intelligence or information that he is in this particular general area or in this particular house he is holed up. Thereafter, once the fire opens, our training, our sense of, thereafter the Indian Army gets to its, the basic character or the nature of the job for which we are trained, we can correctly anticipate that this is the distance, this is the direction, and this is the place where the terrorists are holed up. And thereafter, Indian Army goes in a very, very professional way. And today's drones, to sharpshooters, to rocket launchers, to from vertical modes, from horizontal modes, all possible technology is used to neutralize and to gain advantage and to either apprehend the terrorist or eliminate him. But the fact remains that every encounter is a different encounter. Every situation is a different situation. There are no two parallel situations or copybook style. It is not a cricket match, where there's a ball which is bowled and there will be a copybook style cover drive. No, every drive, every ball, every over, and every batsman and every bowler is different, and every pitch is different. The movies try and bring out fair amount of reality, which I can say, I can't peg any percentages, but I can safely say that 50 to 60% or 65%, they try and replicate and show to the normal man that this is how an encounter takes place. Balance 30% has to be experienced, and I would say that it is very exciting to be in operations, and if you get a chance to serve the Indian Army, every citizen must do it. Well, it's a challenging and an adventurous job. And the women folk and children were in the houses. And that was the time when the earthquake struck and the stone and mud houses collapsed.
Interview. No, some may think, why not? I'll also join Army or Navy or Air Force. Can you tell us what are the different entry points for entering into the defense forces?
So you're seeking other avenues of life for yourself, or you've not just made up your mind. It happens with many people. Like, example, you can take my own example. There is no need to lose any heart. Moment you do your graduation, the UPSC conducts another exam twice a year called Combined Defense Services Exam, called CDS. Again, you get an opportunity to join Air Force, Navy, and Army as a graduate now, and you undergo 1.5 years of training. Those who are BTech or they do engineering from various institutions across India, they have another mode of entry called as technical graduate entry. After doing their BTech, they are directly called for interview.